Wow. Tom. One. Well, I didn't realize that I didn't loop that. Then it's just Dom sitting there. Good morning.
Okay. No worries, man. Morning, Jason. Morning, Ryan.
Dom is at
the end of the intro music.
The end? What do you mean?
I logged in and there was still music playing, so I'm not as late.
Oh, it's okay. There's never late. There's never late. There's no expectation. There's no late. There's no early. We're just always happy to have everybody here. It's always great. Good morning. Okay, state of LA. What do we have? Any updates?
No.
Got it. Okay.
State of LA. I don't know, man. I don't watch the news. I don't follow up. So, I check in with my people. Everyone that I know is okay. Our high winds are back. So, my wife was texting back and forth with her friends, and they were all kind of worried that they were going to need their generators back because their power was going to get shut down this time. So, unsure of how this week will unfold. But, we still are in a better place than most, so cannot complain. I'm thinking about grabbing a couple of extra things that we have in the garage and dropping them off at my in-laws so they can take it to their church as donations and stuff like that. We have some cases of Gatorade type stuff that we've had for a while.
All right. Got it.
That's good or bad, but
well, it's good to hear that there's nothing that is overwhelmingly jumping out from on the ground at the moment. Again, so many things we see over here on X. I don't know the last time I was at the in-laws yesterday. I turned on the TV to watch some football. That was the first time I really turned on the TV, though. So I don't know.
How's everything in the East Coast, Ryan? Weather-wise, drone-wise?
Nope. Since there's another large event happening in the country, the drones are no longer a thing, as expected, and so the drones are not really rearing their head right now. It's just not happening. East Coast
just go to sleep.
I guess so. I'm still on this. I'm still on the fact that I do believe that it's going to be that really what it was. Although you're hearing two things. One with the drones, it was supposed to be about some lost radioactive material, something. And so they were searching for that. But at the same time, I personally think it's just this whole PSYOP thing, getting us ready for drones to be flying around, delivering stuff. I just saw was it China or Japan? I saw it was in the middle of this park. It was like a public park, like a central park kind of thing. And this guy walked up to this kiosk. And on this kiosk, you could order food or a drink. And so there were some foods, there was one specific food from a few different fast food restaurants. There's a Subway and a KFC, maybe a pizza. I forget what it was. But this guy had ordered a drink. It was like a boba. And he was making the video on purpose to show what was going on. And he's like, I'm in the middle of this park and I just ordered my drink. And so he showed the process of what he was doing. And then you see in the sky and this drone just comes out of nowhere and you see it coming and it lands on top of this kiosk. And then the drone drops the drink that it's carrying. And then it moves down to the bottom of the kiosk. And then you pick up your drink in the middle of a park. And so again, these drones being everywhere this way, I think it's honestly just setting us up just to accept it. That's my thought, but that's my thought. That's my own thinking. I don't know, but apparently we're going to get another polar vortex coming this way. It was really cold.
I love polar vortexes. Yay.
No, it's going to be so cold. And so I don't know. Is it cold by you?
Yeah. It is in the single digits in the morning, but then rockets up to the mid, early 40s, low 40s.
Got it.
This is the time of year where I say I like seasons, and then I'm waiting for spring.
you say you like seasons for like a couple of days or an hour or
Yeah,
two.
like I'm just glad I have seasons. I'm actually kind of
Until you
ready.
see a picture of me at the beach.
Yeah, maybe a hot tub that I don't have to dress in a parka to get to.
Oh man.
All right, guys, do you think that our past generations appreciated the seasons?
I think
Do
they
you think
had
our
no choice.
grandparents did?
Our grandparents had no choice but to enjoy the seasons barefoot, both ways uphill,
Walking to school
365
every
days a
day,
year.
5 miles.
What is your first thought when you think about your grandparents, great grandparents? What's the first thing you think about?
That I didn't really know them. Like didn't know enough about them, or what they like. I don't know. I feel like they either weren't like an open and talkative bunch, or they just allowed us kids to just be in our own little thing, you know. And I don't know that that's changed much. Like I'm trying to think about how much my kids know about their grandparents, uh, like past life, or like what they did before or anything like that. I think they know a
Mhm.
little bit, but not so I don't know that it's changed much. They're around a lot, like my kids' grandparents are around a lot more than I was around my grandparents because they were in a different state. But yeah,
Do you still have?
I just have one. My mom's mom is the remaining survivor.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
She's over in Arizona.
That's pretty awesome. I feel like that's very lucky for
Yeah.
you to have someone around. But again, you are seeing her often, or you're not seeing her often. I wasn't sure if I got that.
Once, I mean, if it's once every year, that would be like lucky. But I think it's more like
Yeah.
every other year or something like that.
Got it. Okay. Jason, how about you? Grandparents. What's your first thought?
My first thought is sand, and because we had two sets, sand and Seattle. That's like those are the two words that come to mind. We had one set of
Sand in
grandparents
Seattle.
that were by the East Coast
Mm-hmm.
that lived down there, and then we had our other set that lived out in Seattle. So it was gave us some good places to go. I always wonder if the images in my head are like what actually happened as a kid, or if those are just kind of one of those things where like your mental images just kind of like generate over time, and then they change and develop each time you think about it.
Yeah, and then soon they become like completely the opposite, like a game of
Yeah.
telephone.
Yes, exactly.
We got David over here talking about it too. Family trees are fun to research. I know that Jason, I know our mom did some family tree research at some point, and many things had kind of come out of this. But if you can find the stories, yeah. Pocket Watch, I am researching, but the timeline goes back to Germany, so it's a tough journey to find the documentation. Good morning there, Blaze. We're talking grandparents right now.
Oh, what's up, guys?
How are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good.
Ryan, before you continue with that, what are your grandparent memories? So I have mine. Yours might be different.
Mine are probably, I think you have more fond memories of Dad's parents. I wish I knew my dad's parents a little better. There's something about them that I hear some stories and I'm like, I think I would have really connected with my dad's mom a lot, and I didn't have a lot of time with her, and so that's my first thought. And then the other one is about probably my mom's parents out in Seattle. That was always a big thing. It was always like Seattle. We have family in Seattle. We always talked about Seattle, all this kind of stuff too. And I think we were visiting maybe once every year, and then it turned into like maybe every other year for like a Christmas, and then it turned into like every now and again. But kind of flying out to Seattle and seeing a different way of life. That was probably the first time that I would pick up on, okay, like people live in different environments and they live different ways. They live just different families live differently. Probably the first time we really saw that. So, Blaze, what do you think about your grandparents? Did you spend a lot of time with them?
So my mom's the youngest of 7. So by the time that I like came into this earth, they were like pretty old. So like by the time I was 7, I only had one grandparent left, and he had Parkinson's and was bedridden. So like my one grandpa was dead before I was born. So I've only ever met 3 of my grandparents. My grandmother on my dad's side, I think I saw once or twice in my life before she died. And then I was really close to my grandma before she died. So I feel that I really like missed out. And like for my kids, I don't think they realize what a blessing it is right now that they have all 4 of their grandparents within a 10-minute car drive. Like there's so few people that have that in life or did have that, at least today, I feel. And I mean, there's a lot of people that do too, but I'm almost jealous of my kids because they have that.
That's so cool. Yeah, I definitely feel that. Do you tell them that often, or are you just showing them, or how are you working to make sure that they are taking advantage of being with their grandparents?
Like it was it was a grandparent's birthday the other day, and people didn't want to go. And I was like, you bet your ass you're getting in that car and we're going to this birthday party. So, because you don't know how many are left, you know?
Yeah.
And so I hope, and everyone had a good, well, it just ended up being me and DeMille because the boys ruin everything.
Freaking boys.
The restaurant, some people might have a good time if their presence was there. So me and DeMille went, and it was good to celebrate her grandfather's birthday.
So this is like the juicy bits, and I really do like talking about this because if anyone doesn't know, I think a lot of like what we're talking about right now, what we did when it kind of started with, the VDADS stuff, it was really interviews with other parents in the community, within the VFriends community. And it was really fun to get to know people. And I love asking questions about kind of like where things trickled down through and like who you are today. Like where is your childhood showing up today in your parenting? I have an interview today scheduled with head of community at VFriends, Daniel's on air, and I'm really excited for it. I have to just make sure that I confirm that we're all good. We set it up like 3 months ago, but I get to talk with him. But I love talking about this because a lot of what we do, I think, whether we really do it, whether we know it or not, we know that we are living a life, or we're thinking something that either was passed down from our parents or our grandparents, and like so on and so forth. Where do you think something has trickled through in your family to you today, and now you're kind of passing it on to your kids? I know that I can probably say something about my in-laws, what's kind of come from them, and I think I'm really grateful for it. I think when I'm thinking about something from, my grandparents, what's kind of trickled through, I think it's something, I'm not really sure, but generationally, what are you guys holding on to? What really came through your grandparents to your parents to you? Do you guys have something like that? Are you guys thinking about something like that?
I've been thinking about that since I read this last night, and very much like the values that me and Dom had a conversation on, I'm having a hard time putting it to words.
What was the conversation?
The values that are passed on to your kids. I know I have these very spotty ideas from my grandparents, like carpentry, woodworking. That's something that seems to be a thread in our family that I've picked up, which I enjoy. I think that's one. Having a hard time wrestling with this one.
I think it's probably something that really sneaks up on us when we don't realize it when we're doing something. Like one of those things, it's like, I'm not someone who bites my nails, but then like you catch yourself biting your nails like later in like the most mundane situation and it kind of pops up. But yeah, Jason, I definitely agree with you. There's a lot of like woodworking in our family, which is really strange because our last name is Turner. And when you go back and you see that it was Thurner at some point, but Turner is a lathe worker and all those kind of things. So I don't think it's connected, but maybe it is. I don't know, which is kind of funny.
Still waiting for the Turner family lathe to make its way over from Germany, picking up the customs. I don't know.
Might be there. Who knows? But the thing is, like, I always knew that, and this was recently brought up to me, but I always liked the idea of kind of woodworking, never did much of it. And then I had, this infatuation with like Norway. Recently talking with my dad, this whole like woodworking and this whole woodworking thing, my dad said, oh yeah, you know that Papu was my grandfather's, name given to him. And that's what we called him. But he went to, I think, Switzerland. So like up that way and parts of Norway, apparently, to get some ideas on how to build our Pocono house over here. And so a lot of that was kind of brought over and I was like, oh, wow, what a weird connection. So like, I don't know, is that actually something? It could be. But I thought that was really cool. Even my mom's dad, I'm pretty sure was more of like a salesman, entrepreneur kind of person. And I wonder kind of like where my thinking comes in to be like, I hate that 9-to-5 mentality. And so I'm wondering if there was anyone else in my family that also kind of had that idea. But I don't know. Dom, is there anything that you are attaching to, you think like came through?
So when I think about like my grandmother, and like what she's passed down to my mother, I think about like the only word that came to mind that like on the good side was like adaptability. Like both of them, I've seen them go through, life change, pick themselves up, move to a different place, start all over again. Like they were both, single. My mom was a single mother for a long time. So just watching her, push through that and take on the dual roles of like, father and mother. And I know she got that from her mother because she was also a single mother. And on my dad's side, I see a little bit more togetherness in my grandparents on my dad's side, as they were, together from start to finish. Anytime I ever went and visited them, they were like a pair. Like you just always saw them together. And the other thing was like family get-togethers and even like traveling get-togethers. So they would like take their RV down to Mexico, and then the whole family would come down and we'd hang out. Or during the holidays, everybody would come over to their house, and it would just be like, those are my Christmas memories of like all the grandchildren, because they had my dad's I think he's one of 6, and then like each one of the families had a good amount of kids. So it was just like a big thing for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever.
I feel that. I think that also brings up this idea, not that single motherhood needs to be traumatic, but the idea of like just thinking about that, because why is someone single? Why are they parenting by themselves? But the idea of like trauma and how that's passed down, how it becomes almost like genetic, is a really interesting thing. I think, Blaze, you probably would have some sort of background within the mental health space, right? For you to kind of know some of that when it comes to at least have talked about it. But is there anything that trickled down from your family? You're probably seeing it right now. I mean, with having the grandparents around.
Oh yeah, so I know one of the grandmas loved to take DeMille shopping, and so DeMille loves shopping, but not just for herself, but for others as well. She's building that She loves. I don't know where
That's
she
awesome.
party playing though. And then for my mom, like, and I do this a lot, which I'm really working on, is I just say sorry a lot, even in instances where I don't need to be saying it. And so like I see that like with some like so my two of my little ones now are always like, "Oh, sorry about that." It's like, no, you don't need to be sorry. Stop being. But that too is, fun, just something that exists. I'm trying to think what else. I'm like sometimes extremely extroverted, and sometimes extremely introverted, and so seeing that with my kids, and I can see that in like my parents sometimes as well. But then I think like, facial features. Like sometimes I look at my youngest and I'm like, oh my gosh, you look just like my father-in-law.
It's that is a funny reminder how those things can definitely pop up.
Ryan, did you answer the question? I forgot.
Probably not.
Value or lesson you learned?
I'm really trying to think about. I've thought this question before, and I've been really trying to remember everything. I'm also watching Dom do jumping jacks at the same time in 9 different videos, and they all have beaches in them. I'm very, very envious.
The other thing that talking about was, I mean, mental health and like behavioral health, like depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, that can be passed down. And then like I think about like my one grandfather that died before I was born. He died between 40 and 50 from heart disease or heart attacks. So you inherit those things as well.
Can I ask, with that said, I think this is kind of what the whole reading was about today, was kind of like that ripple effect, right? What is it that's being passed on to you that you have a decision as a parent to perpetuate, continue going, or kind of stop it? I mean, there's like that idea of trauma, right? I think it's a big thing now about how are we parenting at the moment? How can we not pass those things on to kids? Dom, you're doing jumping jacks on the beach, right? Like
Everywhere.
that's all. Yeah, it's everywhere. But the idea of you doing that and having that healthier lifestyle, that could be something where you're stopping things that could have come down generationally in terms of health. Do you feel like you're doing that right now?
You're asking me specifically?
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah, that and a bunch of other things. I mean, everything I'm doing with parenting, I feel like I'm taking. Honestly, I'll try not to be like too negative about my family, but like, I think I've learned more from what they did that I didn't like, and their mistakes than anything. And I don't know that that's like right. They definitely did a lot because I'm here, and I'm doing different. But yeah, it's the health and mindset and connection. Those words that my buddy likes a lot. I'm definitely working on those 3 things very hard with my kids.
Yeah, I hear you.
This might just be like an effect of the times, but the connection between our grandparents and our parents, it's like, do I wish I knew more? Yeah. Do I wish everything was written down in a book? Not necessarily. That's not what I mean. But it's like, I think because of the questions that I have about our parents growing up, like, I think maybe just like natural questions you wonder about your parents, like, what was their morning routine? What did they do? What was running like? Did they jog when jogging was a thing? Did they jump into all these little like fitness surges of like CrossFit, but like back then it was maybe aerobics. Like, did they what did they do? How did they evolve through all these times that they went through?
Well, I know that our dad apparently had these like fits and spurts of running all the time, which is like very much something that I didn't know so much like going on. But apparently, my dad would start. He would get very excited to get, and if he was here, I'd want him to correct me. But the idea is that I heard from him, and I also heard from my aunt, is that he would start to run. He would run. He'd get like really skinny, and then he would stop running. And so it was like, and I'm like, yep, there's definitely parts of me that I know for myself, I can be very easily inspired, and then have these fits, these starts, all these kind of things. I see that in myself. So I definitely see it.
Yeah. I think one question maybe for our parents is like, we were just like the discussions we've been having, things that like, what are the habits that our parents picked up from their grandparents? I know it kind of goes along with the reading. That's never a question that I actually asked my parents. You know, it's like, I don't know. I'm sure there's families where like those discussions maybe are a bit more common. Sorry, that thought is getting lost. It's kind of unraveling. Somebody else go quick.
I'm jealous of Blaze's Celsius right now.
I mean, one thing that like I think a lot about, especially like whenever I see you, Ryan, I think about food, because I know that that's like a big part of your job, and so I think about like we just do such a bad job as eating together as a family, and like I really want that to be their core memory. So, but I've also been like putting so much on my personal plate that's like that's the thing that always gets taken off the table. And so that's something that I really want to work on, because I hope that I can eat with my kids. They're not eating in front of the TV, and that trickles down to them. But then I think growing up, like me and my family, we didn't sit down. We went out to eat like probably once or twice a week, but like, does anybody here sit down daily? Like, do you guys eat together as a family every night? Is that still a thing that people do?
We sit at the dinner table and we listen to the Daily V-Dads episode together. No, it's on and off. It's an intention. We try to do it. I'd say it happens maybe 3.5 times a week, and it's mostly me and Kristen sitting. The girls have energy. There's 2.5 half-eaten dinners before they start going nuts with energy. But we're sitting there for like, we have like a decent like 7 to 10 minutes we're together.
What time do you do that at?
5:36.
We're pretty much the same way. I would say the one thing I appreciate about like Lauren's side of the family is that they're usually very much about getting together to do those things. I know Lauren's big on having the dinner and making sure that it's set. I also think back to like some of my friends where it was like 6 o'clock was dinner time, and whether they actually went and had dinner or whatever, it was that kind of like, I know I can always go there to make that happen. And so I've always appreciated, because it's not really about dinner. I think it's more about like the gathering time, the check-in time, and that like family always has their moment to kind of come together there. So Blaze, I would like, it sounds as if you're thinking that it's, tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like your expectation of what dinner is like plates out, this warm meal, everyone's eating everything. It's all food that like the whole family enjoys. But really, does it need to be that? Or is it just the gathering time of chaos to realize, okay, everyone's in the kitchen, regardless of what's happening. It could be a disaster, but I think it's still something where everyone knows, okay, just come together. Let's all just grab whatever food we need. I think that's the important time. Because like really, it's a dumb question. Out of my mouth was about to be like, what is dinner time anyway?
What is it? What is it?
Exactly. I think it's what I'm saying.
That is deep.
Have you ever heard of methodology, Ryan?
Yeah.
That's what my wife's doing right now. And so there's just a lot going on, because I think
I didn't realize it's on the East Coast, actually. I thought it was just West Coast, but okay. Anyway.
Surprise. Because usually if I make a meal, 2 of the 3 kids might eat it, but then Heather's doing that right now. And then sometimes she'll eat that, but sometimes she'll want what I made. But then it's like never like, I don't really know. I guess it just comes down to planning and communication. And because I'm not just me, eating, like for me, I could eat Chipotle every day of the week and be fine. One burrito a day, great. But that's not, now that I have like, these minions and a wife and a dog, it's a lot.
I mean, is this, so within that, you're obviously having some issue with issue. I feel like you're having some thoughts around kind of this like dinner time. What is it? Is there something to correct here? Is there something you wish? Is there a should statement? Is there a I wish statement?
Well, if we're looking at Lean Six Sigma, you gotta cut out the inefficiencies. I think the first step is just like meal planning and setting goals. I think it's unrealistic for me to say today we're gonna eat as a family 7 days a week. But I think that model of like, I think Sunday night should be a non-negotiable, and then maybe Fridays we do pizza. Maybe it's Tuesday night, Sundays and Tuesdays, or Sundays and Thursdays. We're sitting down as a family and we're eating, or you can sleep outside.
I think that's great. I think it sounds good.
All right. And then it passes on to my kids and they make it a non-negotiable, and it gets better over time. And if they ever break that habit, dead to me.
You'll haunt them.
Yeah. Whoa.
I want your kids to grow up and be like, Dad for some reason was eating Chipotle 7 days a week. I don't know why, but it's all I remember about him.
That's messed up. We don't need to end on that note. Somebody said
I will say my mind in this conversation, I want to ask and keep talking about so many different things right now with this, but I know we can't.
Gotta go.
Top of the hour. But good conversation about all this.
I don't feel like we nailed this conversation, or at least I didn't, with the grandparent thing.
Well, don't place your problems on me. I feel really good about myself.
Take 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes. Both of you guys write your thoughts down.
Gratitude, coffee.
All right, guys. Have a great morning. We'll talk to you soon.
Good day, everybody.